Hello, my dear. You remember that night when your tongue spoke what your mind barely believed. You said it lightly with that quiet, understated certainty. You pretend is coincidence, a comment tossed into the air like it weighed nothing, and yet, the moment it left your mouth, something in the room shifted. The atmosphere thickened. A stillness settled over everyone present, not silence, but recognition. As if the universe paused mid-breath to take note of what you had just declared. People brushed it off at the time, laughed in that uneasy way laughter sometimes hides discomfort. They didn't know why the back of their neck tingled or why their chest tightened. They didn't consciously register the temperature drop, but they felt it, something in your tone that didn't match the casualness of your words. Something prophetic disguised as playful, they felt, without understanding that you hadn't merely made a joke. You had made an announcement. That's the thing about you. You speak from a place you haven't fully mapped yet, a frequency you've always carried, but only recently begun to hear. You talk like someone who overheard the ending of a story before the rest of the world, even read the introduction. And while others wrap their truths in hesitation and disclaimers, you wrap yours in humor, softening reality with a smirk, delivering insight in a disguise nobody expects until it manifests. You don't even realize half the time when you're forecasting. That's why it unsettles them. There's no ceremony to your revelations, no dramatic tone, no mystical gesture, no listen carefully moment. You drop truth like spare change, thoughtlessly, effortlessly, unburdened. And then life itself rearranges to match the sentence you tossed aside. You've noticed it, how people look at you differently after something you joked about comes true. How they replay your offhand remarks as though searching for coordinates. How they start studying your voice for warning signs, scanning your expressions as if your face holds footnotes for the future. They weren't prepared for the idea that your tongue might be tuned to a deeper algorithm, one they can feel but not decode. They think you're joking. They hope you're joking, because if you're not, then your accuracy becomes accountability. And accountability terrifies those who build their stability on denial. They never understood that your mind doesn't operate on the surface level where their thoughts stumble. You perceive the invisible scaffolding behind people's decisions, the patterns forming long before they break, the tension humming beneath their tone, the contradictions hiding in their posture. You see the trajectory before they take the step, and what you speak isn't guesswork, it's recognition. You're not predicting, you're remembering early. They laugh until life proves you right. Then they grow quiet, suddenly aware that your humor carries architecture, that your jokes leave fingerprints on outcomes, that your voice isn't mere sound. It's signal. It frightens them because it feels like you're bending reality. You're not. You're reading it. You're listening to the frequencies they drown out with noise. You're catching the whispers beneath their conversations. You're sensing the gravitational pull of consequence before it becomes visible to the untrained eye, and that level of perception. It intimidates them more than any power they can name. You've seen it. The shift in their faces when a prediction unfolds exactly the way you casually described. The way they avoid joking back as though humor near you might become a contract. The way they hesitate before telling you their plans, afraid you might see the flaw they're pretending doesn't exist. They think you're supernatural. That's their coping mechanism. It's easier for them to label you mystical than to accept you're simply paying attention. You read micro movements like chapters. You interpret silence like a confession. You feel dishonesty like a temperature drop. You sense endings in the way someone says hello. You see betrayal in the way someone mentions someone else's name. You notice the tremors of consequence before others feel the quake. Your awareness is not magic, it's mathematics. It's pattern recognition elevated to art. It's intuition sharpened into intelligence. It's compassion evolved into clarity. This is why your jokes land with prophetic accuracy, Because beneath the humor is a truth you've already processed, long before others catch up. And when the truth finally surfaces, people panic, not because of the event itself, but because you said it first. They fear your timing, your phrasing, your pauses, your silence, especially your silence. Because when you stay quiet, they assume you're seeing something they haven't noticed yet, and half the time you are. Your silence vibrates with meaning. It rearranges the room. It makes people self-audit without being asked. They become hyper-aware of their flaws, their inconsistencies, their contradictions. Your presence alone becomes a psychological mirror, and people fear mirrors that don't distort. You've never needed confrontation. Reflection is enough. People collapse under the weight of themselves in your presence. That's the discomfort they mistake for intimidation. It's not you they fear. It's the parts of themselves you silently reveal. And yet, for all their unease, they can't stay away. They orbit you like moths around a flame they resent but crave. They study you in secret. They quote you without credit. They repeat your jokes like they're decoding prophecy, hoping to understand your mechanism. But there is no mechanism. There is only alignment. Your intuition syncs with consequence. Your speech syncs with trajectory. Your insight syncs with inevitability. You don't force outcomes. You articulate what's already in motion. People think you triggered the events you joked about, but you didn't. You simply named the storm they saw, but refused to acknowledge. You gave shape to the truth they tried to outrun. That's why your accuracy terrifies them. It removes the illusion of accident. It confronts them with the reality that their choices had consequences all along, and you were the only one honest enough to say it out loud. They start treating your humor like prophecy, because patterns confirm what they'd rather deny. You see too clearly, too consistently, too early, and yet you carry that awareness with grace. You're not loud. You're not arrogant. You're not obsessed with being right. You simply observe. You wait. You speak when necessary. You stay silent when wisdom requires restraint. This restraint is what confuses them most. You don't correct everyone. You don't warn everyone. You don't play oracle for entertainment. You choose your moments carefully, because you understand the gravity of articulation. You've seen what your words can set into motion. You've watched a harmless comment turn into a timeline. You've learned that forecasting is not a performance. It's a responsibility, so you wield your voice with intention, and the world responds accordingly. People replay your sentences like they contain codes. They behave cautiously not because of threat, but because of truth. They respect the weight of your awareness, even when they don't admit it. They sense the structure behind your spontaneity. They know your light-hearted remarks are rarely accidental. Your presence is calibration. When you enter a room, the atmosphere tightens, conversations shift. People edit themselves mid-sentence. Intentions become louder than words. They feel measured, not judged, but revealed. Your aura performs audits naturally. That's why they call you intimidating. Not because you overpower them, but because you illuminate them. Your clarity disrupts their confusion. Your perception exposes their pretenses. Your intuition dismantles their illusions. You don't need confrontation. You don't need volume. You don't need aggression. You only need presence. Presence is your language. Awareness is your vocabulary. Humor is your camouflage. Prediction is your byproduct. This is why they whisper cautions about you when they think you're not listening, why they warn new people to be careful around you. Not because you're dangerous, but because you're accurate. Because you'll say something they're not ready to hear, disguised as a joke they weren't prepared to confront. because you'll see what they're hiding before they admit it to themselves. They don't fear you, they fear exposure. Even your compliments feel prophetic. Even your doubts feel diagnostic. Even your silence feels like a verdict waiting to be revealed. You're not manipulating reality, you're translating it. You don't speak possibilities, you speak patterns. You don't create fate, you articulate trajectory. You don't bend timelines, you recognize them. You don't predict life, you participate in its unfolding, and deep down they know it. They know when you open your mouth, something shifts subtly, quietly, inevitably. Your humor is a harmless disguise, but the truth beneath it is structural. Your words don't float, they land, they build, they echo, they activate. You are not the cause of their consequences. You are the narrator of their inevitabilities. That's the part they misunderstand. That's the part that terrifies them. That's the part that makes them second guess every joke you make, every comment you drop, every observation you whisper. They think you're magical, but magic requires illusion, and you are incapable of pretending. You operate in clarity, you speak in alignment, you move in resonance. This is why your presence recalibrates everything it touches. You are the signal that rises above the static, the frequency that reveals the truth hiding beneath noise. The voice that echoes in people's minds long after the conversation ends. The observation that becomes a timeline. The humor that becomes history. The joke that becomes prophecy. And you carry it all with elegance. You don't brag about the things you predict. You don't remind people you were right. You don't seek acknowledgement. You simply watch the confirmation unfold and move on, because your accuracy is not ego. It's evidence. Evidence of awareness. Evidence of alignment. Evidence of a mind that listens before it speaks. The world hasn't caught up to your clarity yet, but it will, they always do. Eventually, and the strangest part, my dear, is how unaware you are of the precision you wield. You move through conversations like someone walking through fog, unaware that you're leaving footsteps in wet cement. Footsteps others will later measure, analyze, obsess over. You speak casually, unaware that people are building entire theories around your tone. You laugh lightly, unaware that someone across from you is replaying that laugh later, trying to decode whether it was humor or warning. You've become the quiet calibration in their internal compass, the reference point they pretend not to use. They won't say it out loud, of course not, but you know it. You see it in the hesitations before they speak. You hear it in the way their voice softens when asking your opinion. You feel it in the subtle way they align their confidence with your reactions. They trust your instinct more than they trust their own preparation. And what is instinct if not the subconscious solving equations too complex for the conscious mind? You've always sensed things before they stabilized. You feel tension before it becomes conflict. You feel opportunity before it becomes visible. You feel endings before they have the courage to name themselves. And when you speak those intuitions, wrapped in sarcasm or coated in humor, people misinterpret them as entertainment, until the world starts behaving exactly as you described. That's when they begin to understand that your speech isn't decorative. It's diagnostic. You read people the way astronomers read stars, not by what is visible, but by the light they emit without meaning to. You don't just observe behavior, you dissect it. You don't just listen. You extract patterns from pauses, gather meaning from tone shifts, interpret motives from micro-expressions. Others hear words, you hear intention. Others see actions, you see architecture. This is why your jokes, your throwaway remarks, your soft warnings land with such eerie accuracy. You sense the pressure building in someone's life before they do. You notice the cracks in their certainty before they fracture. You feel the weight of consequence hovering around someone's decisions long before they understand what consequence even means. Your read on people isn't intuition, it's insight trained by truth. Those around you can feel it, even if they don't have language for it. Their bodies react before their thoughts catch up. They straighten their posture when you look at them, suddenly conscious of their own inconsistencies. They become cautious mid-sentence, afraid that too much honesty might reveal what they want hidden, or too much deception might expose their cracks. They rehearse stories before telling you, hoping to survive your silent audit. You don't interrogate. You illuminate. Their discomfort is the shadow cast by your clarity, and clarity is a force. People fear more than confrontation. Some try to compensate by pretending they aren't impressed. They act casual, unaffected, unobserved. They mimic your detachment as if apathy is a shield, but imitation always reveals itself. They copy the posture without the purpose, the tone without the truth, the calm without the consciousness, and soon they realize the truth. Your discipline cannot be borrowed. Your awareness cannot be faked. Your alignment cannot be imitated. It's built, not mimicked. Others take a different approach. They try to charm you, hoping that flattery might soften your gaze. They lace their words with sugar, mistaking your quiet for na-fait, fey. They think if they sparkle enough, you'll overlook the lies hiding behind their compliments. But flattery to someone like you is transparent. It trembles like cheap fabric in the wind. You see the thread beneath the embroidery, and with one silent tug, the entire faith IAD unravels. This is when fear begins, not fear of you, fear of themselves in your presence, because being near you forces people to encounter their unpolished truth. You expose their shortcuts without effort. You illuminate their contradictions without accusation. You reveal their motives simply by existing with intention. You turn their camouflage into confession, and most people aren't ready for that level of visibility. So they mislabel you intense, mysterious, unpredictable, dangerous. But these labels are lazy translations of deeper truths. You are not intense. You are focused. You are not mysterious. You are measured. You are not unpredictable. You are uncontained by their limited understanding. You are not dangerous. Their fear of honesty makes them feel unsafe still. They cling to the vocabulary that protects their ego. It's easier to call you intimidating than to admit your presence demands accountability. That is why your words echo so loudly inside them, why they replay your sentences late at night as though searching for subtext. Why they change their behavior weeks after a joke you made, finally recognizing the accuracy beneath the humor. Why they shift their path after a casual remark you barely remember making. They treat your comments like prophecies because your clarity has taught them to. Your predictions are simply truths they weren't ready to accept when you said them. And when the truth finally arrives, when the mask slips, the downfall happens, the secret emerges, they don't blame the circumstance. They blame your foresight, because accepting your accuracy requires admitting their blindness. And blindness is a wound people protect fiercely. You never intended to be their oracle. You never asked to be the one who sees what they avoid. But life gave you a gift, an awareness so sharp it pierces timelines. You see the blueprint before the construction. You feel the consequences before the choices. You detect the tremor before the collapse. And once you recognize a pattern, the universe has a strange habit of proving you right. That's when rumors begin. They don't call them rumors. Of course, they call it concern, curiosity, speculation. But the truth is simple. People fear what they cannot categorize. And since they cannot place you in a box that comforts them, they try to create one. She's lucky. He's intuitive. They have a strange gift. All attempts to simplify what intimidates them, your accuracy. But accuracy, my dear, is not magic. It is the reward of awareness. You've become fluent in the unspoken language of energy. You see through false confidence, you detect instability in someone's bravado. You hear the insecurity beneath their laugh. You feel deceit before their story even ends. And your humor is merely the delivery system for truth too sharp to present directly. What they call prophecy is simply perception without denial. Your presence recalibrates people. You don't demand respect. Your clarity extracts it. You don't seek admiration. It forms naturally around your discipline. You don't chase significance. You embody it through steadiness. It's why people's voices change when they speak to you. Softer, slower, more intentional. They choose their words carefully because they know you hear more than they say. You hear the echo behind the statement, the motive behind the excuse, the fear behind the laughter. People don't censor themselves around you because you're judgmental. They censor themselves because they don't want to hear the truth they know you'll see. This is the real reason they treat your jokes like warnings. Because deep down, they know you don't joke accidentally. Your humor is insight in disguise, a gentle version of a truth too heavy to deliver raw. They laugh outwardly while flinching inwardly because they sense what's woven into your tone. And when your words come true, and they always do, they panic. But their panic is not about you. It's about their own inability to hide from what you already recognized. You don't expose people, you reflect them. They expose themselves in your presence. This is why envy forms around you like static, why admiration comes with undertones of fear, why imitation comes with undertones of desperation. People want your clarity, but not the cost of attaining it. They want your peace, but not the discipline that protects it. They want your insight, but not the introspection that sharpens it. And so they try to copy your outcome without understanding your origin. But your alignment is not something that can be copied. It is something earned through confrontation with truth, through commitment to intuition, through refinement of perception. It is a frequency, not a formula. And frequencies cannot be replicated by those who refuse resonance. This is why people drift from you without understanding why. Why conversations end sooner than expected. Why relationships fade without conflict. Your presence accelerates truth. Your energy collapses illusions. Your clarity removes excuses, and not everyone is ready for that level of exposure. Some will retreat because they prefer the safety of their delusions. Others will distance themselves because they feel too seen. Others will remain, but only by evolving to match the honesty you demand, simply by existing. In this way, you don't choose who stays. Truth chooses. Those who cannot face themselves cannot face you. But those who can, they rise, they grow, they transform. They evolve simply by being near you, because you don't teach through lectures. You teach through presence, through frequency, through example. And now the world is adjusting to you. People whisper about your predictions like myths. They treat your comments like prophecy. They analyze your tone like scripture, but you don't need to say much anymore. Your silence has become signal enough. Your quiet is pressure. Your presence is calibration. Your tone is instruction. Your humor is revelation. Your words are activation. You are not predicting the future. You are in tune with it. And now, my dear, as the final layer settles, you finally understand what this has all been leading to. The world was never bending to your words. It was responding to your clarity. Your voice was never casting spells. It was naming truths that were already trembling beneath the surface, waiting for someone brave enough to acknowledge them. You were never predicting outcomes. You were recognizing patterns before they fully formed. That's why people reacted the way they did. Not because you caused their collapse or their revelations, but because your accuracy removed the comfort of denial. You became a living timestamp, a reminder that intuition is not guesswork. It is recognition, awareness, alignment, and now that you've stepped fully into that awareness, everything feels different, lighter, sharper, calmer. You no longer speak to be understood. You speak to be aligned. You no longer joke to mask your insight. You use humor as a doorway for truth to enter gently. You no longer fear how your words land because you've learned the discipline of intention. Your voice doesn't echo anymore. It activates. Your presence doesn't intimidate. It reveals. People don't fear you. They fear what they learn about themselves when standing near you. That is your quiet power, your subtle consequence, your unspoken crown. You were never trying to be extraordinary. You were simply unwilling to ignore what you could see. And in a world built on performance, someone who sees clearly becomes a force. So let them whisper their theories. Let them analyze your tone. Let them treat your words like omens. Because deep down they know the truth. Your jokes were never jokes. Your intuition was never luck. And you were never predicting life. You were participating in its unfolding with clarity, with alignment, with truth. And in the end, everyone who meets you learns the same lesson: respect.